Sure you have some. So if it's a clinical thing, Dr. Matheson, if it's, just pick who you want answering it. And
I have another question. Another friend of mine has some kind of condition where her blood doesn't go up from her feet up. So she's not really wearing like headphones, which I would think would help. But she says that, there's nothing they can do for her, this and that. And she's always tired and she, takes forever to get up. And I'm like, take the damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
right.
that should be the first thing, right?
That would be the first thing.
Yeah. The PEOs are the absolute first thing. And take double, because she's got a major problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Double for, a month, and there should be an answer.
should be okay.
Ryan, when you say that, you mean also the herbs and
Well, there's three different things. The priority, it's ideal if you can get somebody to take all three. But for specific blood thing, if you're only going to take one, the PEOs, absolutely. And then with me, it'd probably be the detoxifier because there's so much junk in the food, and then it'd be the minerals. Ideally, of course, it's all three, but if you have limited money or something, and you have to prioritize, or if you have somebody that just won't take supplements, and you can only have them to take one, that's the order I'd do it. Good question. You know what I think about that, but Dr. Matheson could tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't never like the science of the flu shots and getting them done every year, and I've never actually had them. If you're pretty healthy, the flu doesn't really affect you that much. It really only affects people who are in fairly poor health. And it's a big moneymaker for the companies.
And the people in poor health, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
There was a major article by the guy in charge of the.
Yeah. My personal view is that
I read it. It was unbelievable.
Eventually, some big virus is going to come through and wipe a bunch of people out because we're screwing around with Mother Nature, and Mother Nature's been pretty good so far. I don't like the
I'll pass the mic to you, ma'am. Just a second.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to get this on recording.
Oh.
I'm asking on behalf of a coworker. Do you know anything about hives? This guy's jumped through all kinds of hoops and everything. He's tried everything, and his hives are keep coming back.
The liquid herbal is very, very good for skin conditions, and so are the oils. Remember, your skin is made of the parent omega-6. So the PEOs and the detoxifier, that'd be my first two. And
That's right. So, because a lot of hives and skin conditions are actually signs of gut issues, right? It's a reactor. Your immune system's way overactive because you're got what's called leaky gut. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a fairly new thing that's been in the literature for the last 2 or 3 years. Other things, I try and get my patients to do a leaky gut protocol, but I haven't really perfected it yet because it's too new and I don't know enough about it. But if you can, that's right, exactly. Exactly.
Too many carbs. Cut back those carbs.
He's got to stop going on the gluten issue is massive, right? I don't know. Someone asked me to talk about this a little bit. I have a very strong view on gluten. So one of the biggest problems that has happened in the last 15 years is the use of Roundup on wheat. Okay, the farmers probably know it. But if you look at graphs between gluten sensitivity issues in the United States versus the amount of Roundup wheat farmers using, they're exactly parallel. So I think that a lot of the gluten sensitivity problems that's cropping up today, because it was unheard of, 15 years ago, and now 30% of the population claims they have gluten sensitivity issues. I think it's the Roundup in there, and Roundup has been shown to be a disruptor of the epithelial of the gut, right, and leaky gut.
Can I expand on that just a second?
Yeah.
See, whenever they harvest the wheat, the farmers were seeing that some valleys, some hills, whatever, weren't quite mature, so they're cutting into their yields.
Yeah.
So they sprayed glyphosate, which is Roundup, on it as they're harvesting.
Whoa.
That's right.
So they get an even yield.
That's right. See, this is that.
Wow.
Exactly, and it's not tested. I looked at the government website; they do not test for it, so you have no idea how much is in there.
Would organic wheat then be?
So supposedly, the organic. They're not supposed to use any herbicides or pesticides. If you can find it, I don't know how many people do organic wheat farming, but it's probably not that much.
Oh, you can get it in the store.
Okay.
Organic wheat, absolutely.
In the area that does it, but then there's so many
That's right. How, is it really, because how do you know? Unless you send it away for independent testing, you don't know.
You shouldn't be eating that much weed anyway, to answer the
No,
question.
yeah.
It's all
I
carbs.
just avoid it.
And by the way, carbohydrates knock out your immune system. If you have a couple sodas, you have no immune system for about 8 hours. This was published. It's in the 24-hour diet. You've blown out your immune system. You basically have none. So you do not want to be in a high-carb diet. It's horrible. This was known in the 70s.
There you
Brian,
go.
I wanted to know, is your dad still on the oils?
Oh, your father, absolutely. He never stopped now because it's a personal effect, and he'll never forget the kind of pain. I mean, urinating and screaming. I mean, I was there.
That's a good lesson.
Oh, that's all it takes, one time. I don't want this
You only have to do that once.
again. He won't miss a day, I assure you.
That's right. One time, that's all you need.
But that's what it takes. Sick as hell, on the verge of death, and your doctor's stuff isn't working, and now you need to listen. But, 20 years I've been trying to tell him this.
I have three. I'm sorry. Essentially chronic heartburn, knee replacement a year out, and still a lot of swelling and pain, knee injury.
You've had a knee replacement?
No,
Oh,
a
okay.
friend.
I said, wow, that's
Yeah, no. But the swelling and the pain is still there, and the other knee that had a lot of injury through football in high school, a lot of pain there. So those two things, chronic heartburn and that. And then skin cancer, is that just cancer?
the skin cancer is usually there's three types of skin cancer, right? So there's the basal cell carcinoma, which is the benign one that it shouldn't even be judged as a cancer. The melanoma is the one everybody's worried about, which they don't tell you that melanoma actually occurs on non-sun exposed areas.
And then I wanted to ask you about that. You referred to the sun tanning
Yeah.
booth, and and I'm the one with skin cancer, but just constant.
Yeah.
And they're saying absolutely not at all.
No, it's the benign ones can be cleared up. Actually, a friend of mine has developed a low energy laser that actually clears up basal cells remarkably well without cutting them out. Yeah, I don't mind tanning salons. You don't burn yourself, right? You're just going in for light treatments, like 10 to 15 minutes.
But you
at a
should be
time.
taking the oils
Take the oils.
every day. That's the key.
Yeah.
These oils cut back on the burning, because years ago, people would say, I can go on a bike ride for an hour and a half now. Personally, I could take the sun for half an hour, and I would get a splitting headache. And that's your body saying, get the hell out of here. And the reason was I was EFA deficient. This is going way back before I took them. Now, hour and a half. Then I had people going on, biking, 5 hours now, don't get the burn. So the oils, again, parent omega-6 is in the skin. So what are you doing? You're inflaming it. But as long with the, overexposure to sun, not normal, but if you want to stay out extra long, you can take it. If you don't have the damn oils in that skin, you have no
And what about the other two then?
You're going to
What
fry.
The knee situation.
The
and
knee
heartburn.
situation, the oils take care of very nicely. That works fantastic for knees.
The inflammation and the healing is the oils, the PEOs. They're the ultimate healing.
And chronic reflux, it's a carb problem. Get off the carbs. Just
Get
get
off
rid
the
of them.
carbs.
Do the test. Eat the steak or a big piece of real cheese, not this fake cheese with like no fat. That's not cheese.
Yeah, low
So
fat
if it's
cheese.
full fat, yeah,
Cheese is fat.
it's ridiculous. Or a steak, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have it.
So
Nobody
you think
does.
the carbs are the problem with
Carbs
the
are
reflux?
it. Yeah, you're not made to be doing this.
That's been well shown.
That's it.
Actually,
Okay, so I'm not going to touch on the carb thing or the acid
And it's
reflux.
not zero
because
carbs. It's just
carbs.
minimize them. Just minimize them. It's not
Okay.
zero.
Okay, so I don't think I would have a problem with that. So going back to I was here last time and I talked to you about the chronic headaches. And you said.
Does it help? The oil should help it a lot. No.
So I have been taking, I know, I'm going to hear it. I've been taking the NSAIDs because of the headaches, because I got the oils immediately after. I got very sick. I don't know if the one gal that works at the store is here, but I took the oils. And
Sensitive to the oil.
I don't know what happened. I took the liquid.
Okay.
I was sick for three or 4 days. Like,
You
literally.
take a teaspoon of it? How much did you take?
Yeah, I took a teaspoon of it. I was
Teaspoon?
sick for 3 days straight with, I was in bed for like 5 or 6 days.
Wow.
I don't think it was that, but I mean,
Well,
it
you can have
instantly-
sensitivity to one of the oils. I mean, we
It
have had.
instantly made
it's-
me vomit, and I was just like,
It's very
done.
rare, but you can certainly have a sensitivity. So if this ever happens, what we tell people is cut back to like a third of a teaspoon.
That was
Or-
only like my second dose that I'd ever even taken.
Yeah, but you may have developed sensitivity prior at some point. 'cause-
Oh, that's the
'cause
thing.
you've
You're
got issues.
sensitive prior to, you just haven't taken it.
Okay.
So you could be sensitive to flax oil, for example,
Okay.
or any of the oils.
All right.
About 1 in 5,000 people
Right.
is. We get very little of this.
Now, I have taken the oils religiously since then.
Oh, so you're back taking them, no
I
problem.
take them now. I have not gotten sick as far as like bronchial,
Oh,
any of
so
that
you have-
stuff. I work in a pediatrician's office, besides my
Well,
other
it
job.
must have been coincidental to something else.
Well,
then.
yeah.
It had to
So
be. Well, it had to be.
I'm healthy. I'm
Oh,
healthy.
okay.
I'm healthy there, but back to
headaches
the
are
chronic
still coming?
headaches. The headaches are still coming.
How many are you taking a day? Or you're taking a teaspoon?
I take
Did you try?
I take the regular dose of
Did
all
you
the
try
oils.
2 teaspoons?
No, I take the pill because I couldn't
Okay,
take
how many?
the-
4?
No,
How many?
I just take the regular two in the morning, 2 at night.
Well,
the
that's 4.
blue. Yes, and then I'm sorry, then 2 of the minerals.
For the headache, double it. Take
So that's
8.
what I need to be doing
Do
is double
4
that.
And your vitamin D, right?
That's the one.
Vitamin D and headaches are
It's
very
vitamin
highly
D.
related.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you said B12, so I
B12
got
is important too, but
confused.
Well, you're eating meat, right?
Calls for the.
For-
Are you
yeah,
eating meat?
well, it's all tied together, right? So what people don't realize, okay, so if you're low in vitamin D, which a lot of us are, our gut bacteria are dependent on our vitamin D for their survival. So often, a lot of people who have chronic headaches also have gut issues, right? And it also affects, when your vitamin D is low and your B vitamins are low, you actually affects your ability to sleep properly. So most people
Very
who
much
have chronic
so.
migraines, actually, every time they try and fall asleep, they start moving around and they wake themselves up multiple times throughout the night, and their bedclothes are all over the place.
That's what
in
my
the morning.
Fitbit tells me. I'm like 18 times restless.
Exactly.
Whoa.
So you got to fix all those different issues, right?
Double the oils, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
And
Oils with vitamin D and
what
B
about,
vitamins.
I don't need to take the omeprazole, I don't need to
No.
take the Panerol?
No,
Pan-
get propranolol.
Well, it's not working, is
It's
it?
not
Well, I'm
working.
taking it double because I think the NSAIDs are burning my stomach, so therefore I'm.
Yeah, that's the problem, yeah. So get off the carbs, double the oils, get your D3 measured. As I said, the normal should be about 70 to 100, right? Make sure it's high enough. It's probably really low. And don't be afraid to go on vitamin B12 shots for weekly for a little while. Your B12 level, I bet you, is really low.
Doctor,
Yeah.
could you get a little closer
Oh, sorry.
to the mic?
Yeah.
No, we can't move it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Right.
I scream.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to take vitamin B12 shots weekly for a little while. You can get that. Most physicians should be able to get that. You walk in every week and just get a quick shot, and you're done. It's very painless, right?
Is there,
In the B12, liquid form, under the tongue, does that work as well or not?
It does work, but there's one of the problems with B12 is that it works best when it's combined with something called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is produced by the stomach, needs an acidic environment, and that's why the antacid medications are so bad for it, right? You can't produce acid, you don't produce intrinsic factor. So the tongue does work. If to use I don't want to get too much into the biochemistry here, but the type of B12 you choose to supplement with can be very important for certain subtypes, ethnic subtypes. About 40% of Italians actually can't methylate the cyanocobalamin, which is the artificial form that most commonly you'll see, into the methylcobalamin, which is actually the active natural form. In fact, in Japan, they don't have cyanocobalamin, it's all methylcobalamin if they're going to supplement with B12. I know it's hard to, unless it's written down.
So you want a shot? You want a shot?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
That's where they get it, right?
Well, they can give it in the arm. I mean, it's very benign. Yeah. And you can, and this used to be done, I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers, but family doctors used to give these shots all the time in the 70s, right? It was just considered part of boosting your energy levels.
Right, right.
And now hardly anyone does it.
is there any way other than the shot that you can get the B12?
Uh,
Outside of eating?
Well, outside of good eating and getting rid of the.
If you're not taking what, the antacid screwed up?
Yeah.
If you're not taking an antacid, you don't need it. It's in the meat.
Yeah,
It's in any animal-based
yeah.
product.
Or you can
get
take
it.
you can take a B100 vitamin as long as it's well sourced every morning. Don't take it at night; it'll keep you up, right? So.
Okay, I have a quick question on my mom has pulmonary fibrosis, and there's no cure, so I've heard. Any ideas on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Pulmonary fibrosis, it's idiopathic mostly. We don't know what's causing it. And I always worry about environmental exposures and stuff that's happened. I mean, there's asbestosis and other things, silica exposures that could have done it. The nice thing is that the oils, because they increase compliance of most of these systems, they should increase the compliance of your lungs at least a little bit. But there's no guarantee that it'll work, because the fibrosis, what people don't understand sometimes is that you don't actually become short of breath till you've lost about 70% of your lung capacity.
Right.
And so that means by the time she starts feeling short of breath, she's lost a substantial amount of capacity, and so you're starting from a really tough spot, but it certainly can't hurt.
Okay, thank you.
What do you suggest for osteoporosis? Calcium seems to be a common recommendation today, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's really all
Yeah,
that good.
as Brian said many times, you can supplement with calcium, and then all you do is get brittle bones, right? They make the X-rays look better. Osteoporosis really is what you need. What women need to do is it's actually more important to get some magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K2, or vitamin K2. Okay, those are the big three, plus the oils for making the bones more pliable, and protein and exercise, right? Your body will respond if you start doing some light weightlifting and stuff like that, like resistance exercises. That actually tells your body you need more stronger bones, and your body will respond to that. Yeah. Yeah, bone broth. Yeah, that's a big thing now. Bone
Well,
broth,
you know what's in there? It's the fats from the bone where the PEOs.
That's right. I mean, that's really what it is, right? So.
Do you have anything for diverticulitis?
Again, that's a sign of leaky gut issues, right? So you got to fix the gut, right? And the oils are the best to start with, and then you get into more advanced stuff. And I was told here that you guys don't have naturopaths here. They're not a regulated body. Yeah, which is interesting because those guys, the naturopaths and stuff, are way advanced as far as medicine goes about gut rehabilitation and stuff like that. I'm only just sort of touching on the subject now. I don't speak from an expert's perspective because it's only something I'm just getting into because it's now shown to be such a strong association with the migraines. But yeah, start with the oils first, and then you might want to talk to a naturopath to try and recondition the gut so you don't have the chronic issues that are causing the diverticulitis.
Can you say about how long with the chronic heartburn and the knee issues, taking the oils, how long window you might expect to see some relief? Well,
certainly with the knees, in my personal experience, usually within 2 weeks, people feel a lot better. With the reflux issues, it's a little bit hard because when they start coming off their medication, right? They may be irritable for a little bit, but you have to be really obsessive about staying away from the carbohydrates. Because a lot of people don't realize once the acid level is low, or once you get rid of the acid in the stomach, you can have yeast overgrowth, and that can be just as painful as the acid reflux. And the yeast overgrowth, of course, yeast survive on carbohydrates, right? So that's why you have to be obsessive about sort of getting rid of the carbs in your diet. And
when you talk about not eliminating carbs, but just
Nobody can go to zero carbs,
yeah,
nor do
but
you have to.
like maybe 10%.
vegetable fruit carbs better.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
These are glycemic carbs. So glycemic carbs raise the blood sugar. Turns out there's something called GLUT, G-L-U-T. These are the hormones that do it. Like insulin is GLUT4. There's 14 of them. Some do just fructose, some do a pile of things. Some do the basal energy for just neurologic. Those do not raise the blood sugar. So anything that like cucumber, squash, I mean, lettuce, those are superb. Those are carbs. They have no glycemic, next to nothing. You have a carrot that may be a little. So there's always some are awful, like beets are more than others. Corn is going to be big. But a cucumber, it's all water. Remember I told you you don't need any water? It's 90% water.
Do you have a number?
In the 24-hour diet, there's a whole page with the best ones in one of the appendix.
I mean, the number of carbs that you recommend?
Yeah, 12 teaspoons of sugar, which is 240 calories worth. It's not much. And the average person's eating, 60 to 100. So you knock it down, and this is the glycemic one. So there's no juice, no dried fruit. Those two are awful. Juice is pitiful. I used to be drinking that crap on a bodybuilding diet and was always bloated, starving, and never lost any weight. Awful. It's liquid sugar is juice, and a dried fruit is concentrated sugar. So those don't count. A banana's horrible, and a pineapple's not real cool. But almost any other fruit. The protein powder fruit smoothie is the ideal way to go to lose weight. The protein powder, they've got it out there, makes it creamy like a milkshake. If you just take fruit and you freeze it, cut it up, freeze it, now you don't need the ice cubes. If you just did the fruit and water, it's a slushy. It's too damn cold, and it's not, it doesn't have, it's not frothy or creamy. You put in some of that protein powder, excellent. That can be a whole meal at night. You'll drink a lot of it. You can put 10 ounces of fruit. So your sweet tooth gets filled from the fruit. You're not going to have any insulin spike at all. I discovered this with my wife, type 1 diabetic. Gave her 10 ounces of peaches. Calculated there should have been a 150-point glucose increase. 150 points. Any of you that are measuring your blood, that's a good amount. There was 17. I said, this can't be right. And I made sure she had no insulin. She had high blood sugar to start with, so there's no effect of, anything. Because when it's high, you need more insulin to counteract it. It's a logarithmic or an exponential curve. It's not linear. So there was no question in the measurement, but I couldn't believe it. So where the hell's the glucose going? There's 150 points, which is 7 teaspoons of sugar. Or every 70 points is, it just depends on if you take insulin. But, a teaspoon of sugar is about 70 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. So when you look at 150, there should have been a nice rise. I said, okay, we got to do it again. 15, so 15 to 17, and the margin of error, same damn thing. I said, this is unbelievable. Call up top endocrinologists that specialize in diabetes. Did you know this? No. So the biggest bang for the buck, especially in a diabetic, because they go nuts at night, they snack on ice cream and cake and candy and then go to sleep, so your blood sugars are up. It's awful. If you take this, you get a big volume, so your stomach is full. Your sweet tooth is fulfilled. You can put ice cream, banana splits, pies, cakes, candy. You're so stuffed, get this out of my sight. I'm going to throw up. I can't touch it. And you wake up in the morning, ba-boom. I'm actually doing a medical journal article that's featuring this. And I've had people write into me, I'd wake up with high blood sugars. I tried what you said. Unbelievable. Strawberries, peaches, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, blueberries. It's phenomenal. And you just put them in plastic bags, freeze them. That way you don't need the ice. And then you just put a scoop of the powder, fill it up with water, get whatever consistency you want. I have a cheap blender, a Ninja thing at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's 80 or 90 bucks. Whips the hell out of the ice, so there's no problem. Keep it going for about a half a minute, and you just keep filling the cup. And stuff yourself with it.
And you do water.
Water.
You've got milk out there.
Don't need the milk.
Right, okay.
They do that, but you don't even need it. Scoop of the protein powder. I'm not big on milk because it's carbs, and I don't like. Now, it may be a natural one that's not homogenized or stuff, so you can have better, but you don't even need the extra carbs or the calories from that. You don't need the extra carbs. Water is perfect. Almond milk's cool. Yeah. Get it organic if you can.
Just don't use soy milk, please.
Yeah. Soy milk is horrible because soy Soy's an endocrine disruptor, you don't want to touch that. But, yeah, the almond milk you can do, but you can even use, the water is fine. We played around throwing yogurt in it and all ice cream in it, you don't need it. You know, why do you want the extra sugar and junk if you can get away without it? With the protein powder, you can. 8 to 10 ounces is what I do. Any amount you want, you can't have too much. And again, you can look and see what is the best for you. If you're a diabetic, you prick your finger and just measure it. Different fruits will get different levels. But I don't care what the fruit is, it's a quarter to a half of any other carbohydrate. If it was cake or if it was candy.
Not bananas.
Bananas are horrible. They're not a real, it's mush. So forget the
It's
banana.
a ton of sugar in that stuff.
Forget the banana. And the pineapple is not real good either. Any other ones aren't, they're okay, but those two, forget it.
What about alcoholic beverages?
What's the question?
Yes.
No,
What's the question? Does it make
well,
it bad
for
or-
reflux and carbs.
Well, they're not carbs, they're alcohol. So they are used as an energy source, but it doesn't hit the bloodstream and raise for blood sugar. So it's not going to make you fat. It's not good for you.
What about wine and
Well, wine's got
beer?
more carbs in it. That's
Wine's got
different.
beer is loaded though. Beer is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
Hard liquor doesn't. It's
Yeah.
straight alcohol. There's no sugar in it.
Yeah, it's distilled, right? So it is.
As long as it's not mixed with anything.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
different.
no.
Yeah, you're
no,
talking the alcoholic
No,
stuff.
no Cokes.
Tonic
no
is
Cokes
horrible.
and Pepsis and 7-Ups.
Yeah, if you
Stay away
want
from
gin
it.
and club soda, there's nothing. So you can start doing that. Well, you can do it.
Well, yeah. But and tonic water actually has lots of sugar in it. You don't
Yeah,
realize.
tonic water's
You
horrible.
got to be careful with that.
It's high sugar water. Club soda. Do not want tonic water. Good question.
Here.
Well, you can take an apple cider vinegar, is that bad?
No, there's a lot of good evidence about apple
Not
cider
bad at
vinegar. Yeah. Apple cider vinegar.
I think there's a lot of hype on what it does. I mean, I read these things with it does everything under the sun, but it's. Well, what have
Yeah.
you seen it do? I mean,
Well,
I use it in mayonnaise that I make, and
Yeah, there's people who take it every day.
Dressings I
I've
use.
heard it, I just read an article recently, compares it the same as curcumin, right? Curcumin is the
Oh.
main ingredient of turmeric, and it apparently has similar effects.
Okay.
So it's not bad to have. Probiotics, interesting. I do use probiotics.
Kombucha.
Yeah, kombucha, any like fermented products, which are actually just the same. The problem we have right now is when you're taking probiotics, a lot of people don't use it strong enough. So I recommend the 100 billion strength, which is the really potent one. A lot of people are taking 6 billion or 10 billion. They're actually not doing anything for them. So if you're going to use probiotics, and if you got issues, it's good to try. Sometimes you might, if you have chronic diarrhea and stuff, it actually might make it worse. So that's an instant where you have to fix the diarrhea before you start the probiotics. But probiotics can be a quick way to get some gut healing going on, and make sure it has at least the 10 different strains in it, right? The lactobacillus and bacteroides, right? And it has to be in a time release way. The one that I recommend for my patients is made by a company called Zymogen, which is a naturopathic company. XYMOGEN.
What about magnesium? You take calm?
Yeah, magnesium is extremely important, right? We don't get enough magnesium in our diet. I measure my magnesium levels in my patients all the time. They're always low. Again, the magnesium comes in several different forms. The latest one that's out, magnesium malate, seems to be the most bioabsorbable one. Magnesium malate, that seems to be the one that's best absorbed. There's also magnesium glycinate, which is pretty good, but then the other one, the magnesium citrate, is the one they actually use to clean the bowel out before you have your colonoscopy. So that one can be a little tougher.
there's about 8 minerals that are good.
Yeah, I actually list in my
There's about 8 I
protocol.
recommend,
I have 8 of
too.
them. Yeah, they're probably the same ones.
Mm-hmm.
Selenium too, right? Selenium's big. Yeah.
So professionally, how do you hold on to your job and your medical license and socialized medicine when you talk like this and do these things?
As I said, I'm a bit of a rebel. I mean, but it's interesting because doctors are getting very frustrated because they're not getting the results, right? Doctors actually do want to help people, right? There are not that many that are just strictly in it for the money. And I actually lecture to doctors on a fairly regular basis. Our clinic actually sponsors dinners and stuff. And once they realize that the dinner is not being paid for by a pharmaceutical company, you wouldn't believe how the conversation opens up. They're all desperate for good results, right? And they're not getting them with their current model. And they're looking for different answers. It's just that in the current environment, because pharma pays for 70% of CME right now, they're not free to talk about that sort of stuff, but they really want to. And then they get trapped, right? Doctors are trapped financially, right? They get trapped in this box, and if they don't see this many patients a day, and they don't, then, because obviously talking nutrition with patients takes a lot of time. I'm in a much more privileged position because in the type of medicine I do, I get, in the socialized system we currently have in Ontario, I get compensated fairly well that allows me to spend the time. Because otherwise, paying for the overheads of a clinic, I mean, you'll be dead trying to do medicine the way I do. Because I see on average between 12 and 15 patients a day. So I can spend the time. But family doctors, I mean, their family doctors in Ontario spend, seeing 50, 60 patients a day. Well, that's incredibly impossible to manage someone seeing that. But I can see why, because financially, they're paying for the clinic, they're paying for the receptionist and the nurse, and and they see those expenses just keep rising. But our fees are actually our fees have actually gone down by about 10% in the last 4 years.
Did you have a comment about turmeric? What's that? What it does? Curcumin?
Curcumin, yeah, the amino turmeric. Excellent. Oh, there's over 2,000 articles on curcumin and how beneficial it is for your health.
Anti-inflammatory?
It's very anti-inflammatory, great for brain health, great for kidneys, great for liver. I tell my patients all to go on it. Anywhere between 500 and 700 milligrams a day, if not more, even up to 1.4 grams. And it's phenomenal, great results with it, great results. Turmeric's a spice. It's, the yellow spice?
The Indian
spice. Makes everything yellow. If you cook with a lot of turmeric, you usually have to have a different set of plates because it leaves a yellow stain on everything, right?
Okay, I have a question about blood pressure and aspirin. Okay, my doctor wants me to take blood pressure medication. At what point is that necessary? And then a baby aspirin a day, he says. Family history and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, Brian can attest, there's a review that came out, what was that, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where they looked at baby aspirin dosing and they found actually the side effect profile was much higher than they thought and the effectiveness was much lower. It's one of those things that when you put a drug to a large population expecting a result, sometimes you get the reverse because the effect is so small, and the side effect profile, even though it is also small, is still larger than the effect. So you're actually causing harm.
Aspirin would not be approved today as a drug, given the side effects of fallacious bleeding. And by the way, if you have any kind of clogging, an occlusion that's attached to the artery wall, aspirin makes it worse. I don't think there's any physicians that know this.
No, because it's been so common since basically.
I got this out of Prostaglandins in the Cardiovascular System. It's a book that comes out every 5 years from a conference. I spent about $150 on it in the medical center, and I've never seen anybody even reference it. It was a scathing article on aspirin, the pathways. These oils are a much superior metabolic pathway approach to it. You should never take aspirin. It's horrible. And it doesn't work.
My daughter does coconut oil in her mouth for 20 minutes every morning.
Yeah, what's that called?
The oil pulling.
Oil pulling,
yes.
Yes, I do.
What about that?
It works. I do it.
It's a good antimicrobial antibiotic. I mean, that's what the coconut oil is. It's very good.
Very good.
It's got lauric acid in there. It's got a few different components. I recommend it in the PEO formulations, but not for that reason. It protects the oils.
Yeah. It's
coconut oil's good. Just make sure it's virgin organic.
Yeah.
Organic always, the same thing. Well, they call it that.
Yeah, it's antibacterial, right? Because remember, the tooth decay didn't exist before sugar was discovered, right? We all know. The one thing the dentists, they always recommend that you get your checkups and all that sort of stuff and use fluoride and all that stuff. One thing they never tell you is, like, if you stop eating sugar, you won't have tooth decay. The
fats and proteins do nothing. There's no
right.
digestion in the mouth with fat and protein.
The sucrose, which cane sugar, when it was first discovered, What it allowed is it allowed the bacteria to form a coating on your teeth, so the bacteria would sit on top, and the bacteria excrete acid, and that's what causes cavities, right? So if when they looked at the Romans, who didn't have cane sugar, who didn't exist back then, they all had perfect teeth. There's no signs of tooth decay in any of the Roman skeletons they found. None, right? It's a modern disease.
You look at the animals too. If you have,
Can
again,
you-
cat diets with no carbs, they have no tooth decay.
Can you clarify what you said about juice? Are you
Yeah,
talking
juice
like?
is horrible. Orange juice, apple juice,
Okay.
any
Are you talking?
squeezed juice from a fruit is horrible. You do not want to be drinking it. It's liquid sugar.
Yeah, you're
Okay, so when
You can grind up the fruit, but not juice.
remember juicing and juice
And smoothie are
different.
different, right? But I do mostly
Fruit,
vegetables.
Vegetables you can, but I'd still rather see you just eat the damn vegetable.
Well,
Why are
I
you
do.
juicing it? Why are
I
you
do
doing that?
try to, but because like I drink about 20 ounces a day, and it's more vegetables than I could eat.
Yeah, when you,
So-
You know-
if you're, are you using, is that the sort of the Vitamix? You're using a Vitamix or something that actually preserves all the fiber and stuff in it? That's what,
So why do you think? you
No,
need
the
that?
fiber's out
Why do you think you need that amount?
because
I know. There is a.
I'm very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I need those extra.
No, you don't.
Vitamins
You
and
can do it in
stuff.
other ways,
More
right?
garbage.
Right, so.
No.
But it's not garbage because it's like organic kale and
Yeah, but you don't need that volume is what I'm saying. You don't need that volume, but, and that's not gonna fulfill your appetite either. So you can eat all that, you're still gonna be starving, aren't you? I tried that, starving.
Well-
Fats are the only thing that fill you up. And the fruits fulfill the sweet tooth, because you do have a sweet tooth. We're made to want sweets, 10,000 years ago, you ate stuff off the ground. Well, that's trees, stuff on trees and nuts. So we do have a sweet tooth, but it's not for processed sugar. We'll default to that. You'll default to the ice cream, but the fruit will fulfill it, and the vegetable won't. The vegetable won't fulfill the sweet tooth. So for bigger bang for the buck, you're better off having fruit. Your choice of goods.
Okay, what are your thoughts on the alkaline acidic diet that you eat so much? Okay, thank you.
Well, no, it's a scientific fact. Your blood and tissue is, Dr. Matthews.
Yeah,
you know,
the pH is
like
very,
735 to
very closely
745.
controlled, yeah.
735 to 745, and these are logarithmic numbers, so they're huge variation. I mean, it's tight as hell. I couldn't vary that unless you have a chronic disease. So you can eat acidic food up the yin-yang, and your kidneys will dump enough hydrogen ions, infinite. Even cancer doctors and stage 4 kidney failures, half of them don't cut back on protein. It doesn't matter. You have infinite capacity. It sounds good. You do have acidic blood if you have a disease like cancer. The reason is lactic acid is the output of fermentation, but that is an effect, not a cause. You can eat anything you want. If you think you're going to change your pH in your stomach has a pH of 1, you're delusional. I can't believe books are written on this, and this is what I mean with the lack of science. They'll say anything, like eat right for your blood type. It's insanity, too.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, a quick question. I was going to ask about the headaches. I take the oils.
Yeah, but you
I'll
need
take
more,
the oils.
because we have tons of people,
Okay,
the headaches are gone.
I'll take 16 a day if I have to.
Well, it shouldn't be that many, you shouldn't need that
Okay.
many, but
I have
guarantee double.
I have a question as far as, have you ever heard of the piercing right
Yeah, I've
here?
heard of that, yeah.
Is that
It's one of the,
true or is it not
it's one of the, it's
true?
one of the acupuncture points for headaches, headache control. Yeah,
swearing
and
by it?
I've had patients try it, and then most have not noticed a big
They
change.
haven't, okay.
But they're yeah.
Well, I don't want to go pay for something that, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, they're swearing by it. People are saying, just go get it done, and it'll cure it, because my main thing that I get is I get tension.
Right at the top of your neck.
Right through here.
Yeah,
I don't think is it the way I sleep that maybe
No.
it's the restlessness and
Right.
the,
Right, so
Oh,
the migraine area actually starts at the top of the neck.
and they say they're actually like
That's
on
where it
both
is.
sides is what.
That's
some
right, because
neurologists-
remember, we have left side, right side, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's both sides. But right beside that area is the sleep nuclei responsible for the paralysis of sleep. And that's why when you try and go to sleep, you start moving, and you wake yourself up. Because it's not working properly. There's a great lecture online by Dr. Gomanak out of Texas, actually. She's a neurologist who's done a lot of work in this area. Gomanak is her name, Gominak. She's a neurologist out of Texas. Has a great online lecture just about that issue. Yeah.
To get back to your question, the acid alkaline thing, I mean, there is people that say, or there are people that say eat alkaline foods at the same chunk and don't mix them. You know, there's two ways to go. Eat like fruit is more alkaline overall. Even lemons are, and there's a reason for that, even though it's acidic. But you know, you eat steak and then wait an hour or something. But your digestive system is all independent. Where carbohydrates get utilized is different than where the protein gets utilized in the fat. So nature is very good. It's not going to tie you down to, you need to think about what the hell you're eating. You know, it's very, very good. But I looked at this a lot, and it's nonsense.
I have a question. Through some literature, you're talking about fatty liver and then type 2 diabetes, and somewhere I read, you know, one causes the other, or because you have a fatty liver, you have type 2 diabetes. If you have type 2 diabetes, you're going to have a fatty liver. The question of the fat around the middle. So I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 2.5 years ago. Was put on insulin once a day because it was like 450 when I was first diagnosed. I have not been since. I only take 16 cc's of the insulin at night, but my stomach has just kind of, since the insulin.
The insulin's driving all that sugar.
So is that a time when one can be off this? My blood sugar has been down, cut off the sugar, 112, you know, in the morning, 115, not more than 140. So it's gone down considerably through diet, you know, through lifestyle. But, you know, I'm trying to figure out what to do. At supper time?
Yeah, I'd like to see what happens if you eat just a steak and a salad.
You know, and I don't eat a lot of carbs, but I eat some.
Well, I would like to see the number. So if you measure
so
your
eat
blood
the
sugar,
steak and then take the number?
The steak and a salad, you know,
Okay.
first you got to measure it.
Right,
of course,
before
you eat anything.
Right.
And you don't eat anything 4 hours before, so the insulin curve is done with. And then eat, I don't care how much, it could be a pound. It's not going to matter.
Okay.
A steak and a salad.
Okay.
You know, cucumbers, lettuce, you know, no carbs in there, the glycemic carbs, so there's no dried fruit or anything, but a standard salad. How much do you want? Stuff the hell out of yourself.
Okay.
And then 2 hours later, measure it.
Okay.
And that's what I want to see, and, you know, let the store know. I think you're going to be shocked, because you're still eating too many carbs. Whatever you think, it doesn't matter.
So.
If you're not losing the weight, you are eating too many
And would
carbs.
there ever be a
100%.
time that I don't have to take the insulin?
So you should be able to get, if you lose this, your insulin resistance comes down substantially.
It should come down.
And it should come back, but
It should come
because there's two types of diabetes, right, as you know. The one is lack of insulin and one is insulin resistance.
Right.
Most likely you have the insulin resistance kind, so you
The
should be
oils
able
typically fix that.
So you should be able to recover from that. But if you actually have burned out your islet cells on your
And I
pancreas,
have, I have not. Through some lab tests, I still have some, so.
okay, good.
yeah.
So you should be able to come off, yeah.
Okay.
All type 2 should be able to reverse.
So insulin will cause then this.
Oh, yeah.
balloon.
Fat storage hormone.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Remember?
It's driving
Any
sugar.
carbohydrate has an insulin response. Insulin makes you fat. If you don't want to get fat, exercise like a rat in a treadmill. And you'll burn it up. You will burn it up. But you want to be exercising 2 hours a day? I sure as heck don't.
All right, thank you.
Is there anything, the chromium picolinate and the cinnamon for the diabetes?
Oh, chromium, yeah. Chromium, if you're doing fast and stuff, chromium is actually very useful because it prevents the blood sugar from dropping to make you really, really starving hungry. So chromium is very good for that. And that's in there's a lot of chromium sort of supplements that are used for people who fast. So intermittent fasting is not a bad thing to do. I don't know if I don't know if you guys have read anything about intermittent fasting and stuff, but there's a lot of good evidence that it works because it follows our evolutionary point of view, because obviously we weren't eating every day when we were out there hunting and gathering. Some days, you just didn't get anything, right? And
Exactly.
so you were starving. So, and it's actually shown that when you fast, your human growth hormone actually elevates, right? Which is also great for diabetes, right? The only problem with intermittent fasting I've run into, especially with overweight, and it tends to be more women than men, is because when they start releasing that fat, the toxins are stored in fat.
Better be taking that liquid.
That's right, because if
Detox.
you're not getting rid of that at that time, you can feel pretty sick.
And you'll be tired.
And that's discouraging, right? Because I've had one woman who was quite obese, and she just went gung-ho and tried to fast for 2 days, and then she was in bed and vomiting and stuff, and because she just really, there's way too much toxin overload, right? She couldn't handle it, and it made her really sick. And of course, that turns her off. Then she says, "Oh, this isn't for me." And it's like, "Oh, no, it is, but you just attacked it too hard."
What's your theory on these TENS units? Could there be any relief for the migraine headache sufferers?
TENS, I use a form of TENS called CES, or cranial electrostimulation. And it basically tries to sync the brain waves into a meditative state. And when you meditate, your endorphin levels come up, right? And that's how it gets rid of the headaches. But I do use it in my practice. Yeah.
For the lady with the diabetic question that takes the insulin, insulin is the hormone that stores fat.
Right.
So as long as she's taking the insulin, she's going to store fat.
Right. That's right. So she's got to start, as your sugar levels come down, she's got to start decreasing her dose, right? And she should be able to come off of it.
So the goal is to get off the insulin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that protein powder, fruits, get that book, 24-Hour Diet. And make that your Bible for the next month. So you got it inside and out. It's not that hard to do. But you have to know a few things. I mean, and this gives you all the science and the vegetables, what to eat, and the fruit, protein powder thing.
Yep.
My daughter works with autistic children.
Mhm.
She's board certified, national board certified. Those people are dying. Parents trying to figure out what is causing that.
Mhm.
Ideas, or will the oils help, or what kind of protocol?
To a certain extent,
Certain
the
extent.
oils do, but it's a neurologic. I mean, we were talking about is two things. Roundup is a neurologic damage. So they're eating this crap, and the mother's eating the crap.
Yeah.
So it poisoned the damn kid. So that's one thing. The other thing is they give so many vaccines at the same time. It's not the preservatives so much. Everybody looked at preservatives and they got laughed at and made jerks out of themselves. It's because they're giving them 5 at once. You got this infant that is used to nothing naturally. And by the way, you want it exposed to this stuff. The whole thing with vaccines is pretty bad. But you give 5 vaccines at once, and that's so the doctor doesn't have 5 visits, and you don't have to go 5 times to be lazy and do it once. You've given an overdose, a toxic overdose. You've just ruined his whole neurologic system, because a kid would never, ever be exposed to all this stuff at once.
Yeah.
We did it to him once again.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different Yeah. They're doing the same thing.
Same damn thing.
Don't worry. It's
Everybody follows us.
it's driven corporately, right?
It's horrible.
But autism has got multiple different factors involved, right? The other problem you run into is C-sections, right? So C-sections are rampant. We're not giving birth naturally. C-sections bypasses the vaginal canal, so they don't get the normal bacterial flora. And it's been shown that if you feed kids who don't have abnormal bacterial flora, high carbohydrate, such as infant formula, right, that they produce a lot of what's called propionic acid, which actually can cross the blood-brain barrier, and in rat studies have been shown to cause instant autism when put into the brain. If you combine a C-section baby that doesn't have the normal gut flora because it didn't pass through the vaginal canal, you combine that with someone who also feeds them infant formula, which is very high in carbohydrates
And adulterated oils.
and
at the
adulterated
same
oils,
time.
you're
horrible.
setting yourself up for disaster. So they've shown that C-section babies actually have autism at twice the rate of vaginal birth deliveries. Now they're actually doing a study which is really interesting, because I actually tell some of my patients to do that are pregnant. If you or your kids, one of your kids get pregnant and they actually are having a C-section, make sure they get a sample of the vaginal flora and they actually just swab the baby right after it's born. Get all that bacteria on them. Those bacteria are actually part of what mother passes down. propionic acid. Yeah.
Horrible.
Oh, it's terrible stuff, right? It's mostly carbohydrates. And what I didn't realize,
The oils are adulterated.
I was reading a study that,
The oils are in there, but they're all ruined.
they're all
You're giving
processed.
adulterated processed oils to the kid.
Yeah.
It's forming with screwed up oils.
Yeah, breast milk is still best, right? But one of the formulas that actually was tested was using rice syrup as the sweetener in it. It had 10 times the amount of arsenic for a human being allowable per day. And it's in an infant formula.
It's horrible.
They play by different rules, right? That's I don't know how they got away with it. And then here we are. You know, these companies are trying to tell all the women in Africa that, guess what? You should be feeding formula. That's the Western way of doing it. And now guess what happened? Obesity
Destroying
problems and all these problems that we see here are now starting to go through Africa.
Immediate. Should be the mother having
The
it.
mother should be having it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just healthy, right?
Yeah, breast milk is 10 to 1. Remember I told you it's 11 to 1, parent omega-6 to 3? Breast milk is 10 to 1. It's the same damn number.
What about the ones that don't breastfeed? My daughter-in-law doesn't do that.
You should get the
Should get
kid
the
the
good
oils.
So we give them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't overdose on it. That's the beauty, right? Because the body handles as much as it needs, and it just uses the rest for energy.
Well, you don't need to be taking 15 a day if you don't have a problem, but that's a good general form, is 1 for every 40 pounds, and it's proportional. If you want to double it, it'll be double all day long.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you waste your money, so you're not going to get any good effect. And you can tell if you are getting too much, it'll be on the omega-3 side, and your gums will bleed when you brush your teeth, or when you get smacked into, you get a bruise in your leg. That's too much omega-3, so you can always tell. So people taking fish oil bruise like hell.
I've got a couple things. This is when you commented about the C-section births and swabbing. This is the second time this week that I've heard that. We went to a class at Des Moines Osteopathic University this week, and they said the same thing. And the other question, or the other comment I had is, for migraines, if you're detoxing too much and you have too much of the yeast stuff, you're saying take more of the Essex to get rid of the headaches?
Well, it's an Essiac.
Or Essiac, I mean.
The oil should do 90% of it on its own.
So just take more oils and more of the
Yeah, maybe
Essiac
double.
to get rid of headaches if you're trying
They
to
should
detox.
go way down. I've had tons of people all around the world, with headaches, major. And the liquid herbal is good too. You can certainly try the liquid one, an ounce or 2 a day. But with the oils, double the amount. And if that doesn't do it, I don't know what's wrong. I mean, I've just never seen anybody that hasn't worked for it.
Can you reverse the autism or
Oh, that's $1 million question, isn't
with the oils? Well, the oils.
You can
No.
you should be able to modify at least the behavior. There's a great book by Norman Doidge that's just come out. It talks about some of these developmental issues in kids and neuroplasticity principles and how you might be able to fix some of these issues. Because one of the issues with autism is they're missing out on all the developmental milestones, right? And it's like, okay, how do you catch them up? Even when you do fix the underlying problems, because autism may be more than just a single entity. It seems like some of it's perceptual issues as well. So
Well, it's all neurologic.
Yeah, that's right. So they don't perceive the world the same way that you do. So there's a
all
great story in the book where they talk about an autistic kid who, when he saw a piece of paper on the table, he would run around the table. And it's not until someone who actually knew what they're doing found out the kid didn't see in 3 dimensions. Right? So he wanted to run around the table because it's the only way he could look at the paper from all different directions. So he had a perceptual problem, and if he didn't deal with the perceptual problem, that's why his behavior was so odd. It was, so sometimes it's hard to explain. It's quite complicated, but you have to not only have to correct the underlying health, but you actually have to then work on the perceptual issues. The problem is there's so few people who know how to do that.
What is the book?
It's called The Brain's Way of Healing by Norman Doidge, Doidge. He's a psychiatrist in Toronto who writes about neuroplasticity. Fascinating book. DGE?
I became a grandpa for the first time 2 weeks ago today. So
Congratulations.
they are breastfeeding, but
Make sure
which
she's
book
almost
is one of the books, is this information about the formula in one of the books, or where can we find that if
That was put together over reading a lot of studies, but I don't think anyone's ever put together a book with all that
So it's
information. But there's a book you can read by David Perlmutter. He's a neurologist who has a degree in nutrition. Also, it was called Brain Maker. And it was published in April of last year, and it's actually got a lot of really good up-to-date information with some chapters on autism.
that's
Yeah.
pretty scary crap.
You
I
think
mean,
so?
yeah.
It's an avalanche. I mean, you imagine 1 in 2 kids having autism, it'll destroy the school system, right?
Thank you.
Perlmutter, that's
You just pull up
Perlmutter.
Brain Maker. It's a bestseller.
Yeah, he wrote Grain Brain a few years ago.
I was curious about some of the women that use the goat's milk who can't breastfeed. If that was a avenue that they could go.
I've heard that it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, especially if make sure it's organic and
Sure.
stuff. And if they get the unpasteurized stuff, that's probably even better, right?
It may all be.
Yeah, pasteurization, it's unfortunately, to get unpasteurized milk products you have to be part of a cooperative, right? It's technically illegal to sell it. And it's a way of the milk industry trying to keep out competitors. But, my father grew up on unpasteurized milk in rural Cape Breton Island on a farm, and he did great. And this whole idea that you're going to give people diseases these days, it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah. I just wondered about that, because I know my daughter, she couldn't breastfeed, and I was pushing goat's milk on her, and we did have an avenue for organic to get it here in Iowa. There are places you can.
Yeah.
You just got to find someone, and usually your natural birth places will send you in that direction. So if the child's having trouble with the breast milk, or she can't breastfeed, get a hold of them, and they'll send them the goat's way.
Excellent.
What's good for COPD, or where you got to use a CPAP machine?
Well, COPD, again, it's all about compliance, right? And the oils actually increase compliance. COPD, once you're at that stage where you're actually having to require assistance in breathing and stuff, that's a problem, because you've already lost a lot of lung capacity by that point. So you're starting from a very bad spot. To get rid of CPAP stuff, a lot of that times it's weight related, unless you have central problems, and then it's a brain processing problem.
If you get a cold or sinus with it, is what makes it bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the oils help a couple of those aspects, both with a compliance issue in the lungs, and of course helps make the brain work better, more efficiently.
Yeah,
So
double the oils and try double the liquid herbal for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The great thing is you know that if it's going to do it, it's going to do it fast. You're going to see a tangible difference. It's not, I think it's working. That's what you say. It's not doing anything. There's a hell of a difference. Is what it should be. So all you can do is try it for 2 weeks. But both of those, the liquid herbal, blush, and the oils.
Are the liquids better than the capsules? Because
As far as the oil goes, makes no difference at all.
Same with
the
herbal stuff?
it hits the bloodstream. The capsules just get dissolved immediately. I do exclusively capsules myself, just for the convenience, but no difference. Couple more questions, then you can get out of here.
On fruit juice?
Don't drink it. Next question.
When it's pasteurized, it's pure acid.
Well, fruit juice. Well, the problem with fruit juice is if you actually know how they handle fruit juice, it's very interesting. Orange juice, they store it for months in a tank. It goes kind of gray and nasty, and then they add coloring and sugar back to it to bring it back to life. I mean, we have our network up there did a documentary on this, some of the things that you don't get to see down here. And they looked at Florida orange juice, and that's exactly how it works. And it's like when you see it, you're going, oh my God, I will never touch that ever again. Right?
But you don't want it anyway.
I don't ever drink fruit
No, it
juice.
has no nutritional value anymore.
Well, you don't even want it.
Another
it's too many
thing,
carbs.
I was born with heartburn. I fought heartburn and acid reflux
reflux
forever.
Yeah.
I've had ulcers, and about 5 years ago, I had an acid test. And I think the doctor told me normal was 20, and mine was 60. So he
Is
did,
that a string test? They put a string, yeah, a string
he
test.
did a
yeah.
surgery called fundoplication.
Yes, so
Now,
that's-
I don't have any acid reflux, I don't have any heartburn, ever. I
Yeah.
could eat anything I want, but I can't belch, I can't vomit.
That's right.
And I just have to learn to live with that the rest of my life.
Yeah, so-
And I have to take Gas-X before I eat and after I eat, because the buildup is so uncomfortable, you have to.
Well, what's interesting is that when you actually correct your diet and know which foods you react to, when you start avoiding those things, and again, gluten and dairy are by far the top two,
Wheat.
Wheat is bad.
horrible.
That's right.
Right.
So once you eliminate this from your diet, you actually don't produce very much gas. So what she had a hiatus hernia. Okay, that's what she was born with. And the fundoplication, they take part of the stomach and they wrap it around the lower esophagus to create enough strength there to hold things in. But again, now she has a problem where she can't vomit and stuff. Yeah, you have to be very careful because if you get a stomach flu, right, you can actually rupture your stomach because of the pressure.
Twice in 5 years, I've had the dry heaves, and it is not fun.
It's painful.
It is not fun.
No.
And I also wanted to say about headaches. Not too long ago, I read an article that said the best cure for a headache is to have sex.
It's increased blood flow.
It's
and that's
endorphin
what these
release.
oils do.
There you go.
They open up the channels in the brain. So it's a vasodilator.
You're right.
So you're right. These oils give you that effect.
Okay, if the goal is to improve your diet and take the oils to avoid cancer, what does someone do that has cancer? Should they take a traditional amount of the supplements or double them or what?
What stage is it at? How bad is it?
Like stage 3 or 4?
Yeah, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's bad. I would triple it for 90 days. And I would, same thing with the liquid herbal, because you don't want it metastasizing anymore. It's very, very good to knock that out. Those are two things I do. I'd be on a very low carbohydrate diet. Not a lot of protein either, because there's one amino acid that cancer does live on. So this ketogenic diet is like 3 parts fat to 1 part protein. Very hard to live on, but you do want more fat than the protein. So cheese is a perfect kind of a food. Organic cheese.
Yeah, they have to avoid carbs at all costs because
You don't want
cancer,
any carbs.
and she or he will crave carbs because cancer wants it, right? But that's what it lives. It lives on sugar, right? That's what it's living on. And so you can't let it have it.
So would juicing be good then?
Juicing is horrible. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. I don't know how much. Again, it depends on the damage. It's like in the mitochondrial, it's irreversible. At a certain stage, you're not bringing a cancerous cell back. It's one way. It's like you have a light switch. You turn it on, it stays on. It's magnetized on. It's like a diode. It goes one way. So it depends on the stage of how bad it is. If it's real bad, like with cancer, you either have to kill the cell or cut it out. You're not bringing it back to normal. I don't know. I don't have much experience with autism. I mean, that's one area with these oils. It's neurologic. It's going to do some help. I just can't tell you how much. But it's an easy test. There's no downside. Just give double the normal amount to the kid and see if he gets anything.
One quick question. My father just had a feeding tube put in. I told him about you last year, the tardive dyskinesia. Was that one I told you about? You have the time where it's central nerve, he's shaking.
Yeah.
You know anything about it? He has been in the hospital now a couple days, but he has a feeding tube put in on all kinds of medication for the central nervous and can't keep his tongue in his mouth.
Did the tongue?
Yeah, was he on some medication that caused that, or has he got a?
What did I tell you it was? It was the acid reflux medicine.
That did that.
Oregulin. Oh, yeah. It's an anti-nauseant. Yikes, that's a terrible thing, outcome for that.
It feels like he took a cup of hot grease and drank it like 24/7.
He's got neuropathic.
Out of his mouth, he can't keep the tongue in the mouth, and he's on so many medications. Now he's on a feeding tube because he has lost so much weight, he's down to like 152 pounds.
Its problem is that getting access to what's being put in that feeding tube, because often they put a high carbohydrate diet.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they're-
there.
So they're actually making the neuropathic issue worse, right? And
Always high
And
carb.
I, you know, unless you know what his B vitamin status is and vitamin D and all that stuff.
Over and over again, if he's taken anything, I wish he'd take the oils because everything he's taking counteracts something and
That's right.
makes something else worse, and he's just miserable.
I know.
His life is terrible. He's depressed.
Unfortunately, when it comes to these issues, because he's trapped in the medical model right now, right? And you don't have any input. So you're going to have to start educating yourself to fight on his behalf.
I have to go down tomorrow and learn about it at 11 o'clock, how to
That's right.
clean it.
Clean it, make sure it doesn't get infected, what can go through it, that sort of stuff. But he needs to go on a high lipid, high protein mix through that tube, right? Yeah, that's right. That's right. So he,
Protein powder, fruit smoothie thing. it'd be
you can do
perfect
it.
for
You
him.
can blend it in.
Get that 24-hour diet book. Yeah.
I have the book.
It's in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have that.
You're gonna have
You can just dump the oil in it.
You're going to have to educate
It's
yourself
okay.
on this because you're going to have to fight for his well-being, right? And
I don't know how he's going to make it.
I know, I worry too. Yeah. No, you have to be his advocate, so.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned having a steak and a salad for dinner in the evening.
With the acid
How
reflux.
about can you marinate the steak or season it in any manner?
Sure.
Anything you like?
For the acid reflux test, is that what you're saying? Or just eating it?
Just
This
eating?
was to test to see if the acid reflux goes away, because that's what I'm saying. Fat and protein, you don't get it.
Okay.
It's carbs that do it. But yeah, for the steak, if you just want to eat it, and you don't care, it's not that test. Put whatever you want on the steak, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Lemon juice, olive oil, that's the Italian Florentine way. Anything you want. Cream is a different category. Right?
Yeah.
That's,
If
that
you
doesn't-
can find organic, the problem with dairy is that they feed a lot of soya products to dairy cows, right? And soya's got all the estrogens in it, plus it's got a huge amount of glyphosate in it, right? They raised the limit in 1999 from 0.5 milligrams per kilogram to 20 milligrams per kilogram of allowable glyphosate in soya, which is crazy, right? I mean, that's the Roundup. That's the Roundup. And then of course that gets into the milk, and that's why I tell people to avoid dairy.
So you want organic.
Yeah, if you can get organic, if you can get unpasteurized organic, it's even better. Yeah, if it's made the right way, be careful of yogurts, right? Because a lot of them add a lot of flavoring and sugar to it.
It's best to get plain.
Get the plain stuff.
I'm big on plain organic. You're going to be in decent shape.
Yeah,
You're not going to get the
high-fat-
sugar.
high-fat
High
yogurt.
fat, yeah. You don't want the low fat.
Make your own.
Really?
Oh, good. Yeah, perfect.
List of the problems from glyphosate or Roundup.
That's right. I don't know if there is a short
Or
list.
the top
There isn't
5.
We see
I'm
it-
sure it's a long list.
So here's an example. Like 2 weeks ago, a publication shows that the rate of kidney stones in the United States is going through the roof. Lots of people are getting kidney stones, way more than they've ever seen before. And glyphosate has a known biochemical pathway that causes kidney stones, right? It's filtering into every aspect of our food, right? And when you go into restaurants, you have no idea what's really in there. When you go into an Applebee's or Chili's or whatever, what they do is they're not cooking in the kitchen. They take pre-prepared meats that's cooked in some factory and they put it in boiling water and then they serve it to you, right? It's prepackaged fast food, right? So you think you're going to a restaurant, but you're not. Right? A restaurant actually, if you know the owner, you know where it's sourcing from and all that sort of stuff, you can avoid some of these problems. But it's in everything. Anything that's 95% of the soy is GMO, right? It's in our wheat products. Corn has the BT problem, where 75% of corn is BT corn, which is a genetically modified corn that produces BT toxin, which causes leaky gut, by the way. Right? That's how it kills the insects. We've really created a minefield. Yeah, Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yes, yeah, they're the, well, they were chemical weapons companies in World War II, right? And they've continued the war. It's just enough. That's right. And they're after, they've been trying to get Syngenta, I think, which is the other one, right? So, really is shocking, but anyways, we're getting the
One
high
last
side.
one. No.
Okay. It actually is, exercise is the best thing, right? So, I mean, if you have chronic back pain, you're a tall guy. The other, yeah. Trying to avoid sitting as much as possible. Sitting is really bad.
Stretching good?
Yeah, stretching, exercise, watch your posture, use the stand, like if you're spending time on computers and stuff, try and get a stand-up desk, so you're actually standing most of the time. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I've looked at all the different treatment options. Most of them fail, right? You have to get someone who, a therapist who really knows what they're doing with the back, because a lot of back problems are muscle instabilities, right? So there's a lot of, like in carpentry, right? You have, preferred ways of doing things, and that may be actually aggravating your problem because you're not moving around enough. You're doing the same thing over and over again, right? And I mean, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, I don't know how to tell you to correct it, like saw with your left hand, like, how do you do that? I mean, it doesn't make, for a carpenter, that's really difficult. But there may be some repetitive motions that you're not even aware of because that's just the way you've always done it. That may be aggravating your pain and you don't even know it, right? So it's often an analysis of your own self, what's going on, but there are certain therapists that are really good, can actually detect abnormal muscle spasms one side versus the other. And so sometimes it's not actually strengthening the hurting side that hurts, it's actually strengthening the other side. Right? But it's hard because you need to know someone who knows how to do that, and that's actually not that common. There's a physical therapist, is mostly what I talk about. But a lot of the physical therapists, they have their they have their, the shake and bake sort of approach, right? They put a little heat on it, a little ice on it, and but nothing really happens. Ones who really know their stuff will really be able to do a detailed exam on posture and all things. In fact, there's a branch of physiotherapy in France called posturists. And that's all they do is work on posture and how you do things.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but we don't have that here. So, but again, it's finding someone who really knows their stuff, and it'll take some research. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.